I'm Harrison.
And I'm Ameer, and we believe that one of life's most valuable assets is the gift of conversation.
In the midst of life, sometimes we forget the true power of a deep, meaningful conversation.
So take a breath, come join us,
and let's talk about life. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Let's Talk About Life podcast. My name is Harrison King.
And my name's Ameer.
And we are going to talk about the law of attraction. At least that's what we're going to start with, yeah? I think that's the plan. Ameer brought this up, so I'm going to let you take the lead when we start this conversation.
Got it. You're going to hand it right over me. Okay, yeah, straight to the deep end. Okay, so for me, a lot of people are going to not like what I have to say. Lots of people are not going to like what I have to say. Lots of people are going to disagree with me. Lots of people are going to, I don't know. Yeah.
What is
some people might not like what I have to say, but this is my personal views, kind of with the law of attraction and kind of the entire field around it, Now keep in mind, I've read like the Secret. I've read, I've looked into all the things. I've read all I forgot what's her name, Rhonda Byrne. I don't know, all of the stuff around, the Secret, and I've had my fair share of visualization meditations and all those things, and I definitely do think there's something to it. I think there is something to it. I think focusing on what you want to create makes you more likely to achieve those things, right? But I wouldn't, for myself, go so far as to say that necessarily our thoughts create things or perhaps attract things to us. I think in many ways it can be an over-exaggeration of kind of our mind's capacity. And I can feel people getting heated up already. What the hell are you talking about? Okay, right. Because basically, like, the one thought that I've always had with the law of attraction as a skeptic myself has been, okay, one can attract wealth if one focuses on it and visualizes it and acts as if it has already happened, that kind of thing. Then why is Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Warren Buffett, why are they not law of attraction teachers? Right? Why is Rhonda Byrne not the richest person on the face of the planet? Right? One could then say, oh, perhaps they don't have enough faith to attract these things, or you didn't believe it enough, which gets into a really, really, dark underside, which kind of is reminiscent of kind of a negative side that I've seen growing up in Christian circles. It's like, oh, you just didn't have enough faith. That's why the prayer didn't come true. Right. And I personally really dislike that. It's like, oh, you just sort of had more faith, or like you didn't have enough faith and that's why your child got sick. Like that gets really, I really don't like that. And so that's kind of the dark underbelly that I see to kind of the law of attraction community, the entire lack of faith thing.
Right.
And secondly, I think in ways like, yes, the brain produces an electrical signal and yes, things can vibrate, but I think the neuroelectric component that's talked about in the law of attraction and vibration and everything like that, I think is overplayed and is perhaps exaggerated. Like, yes, there are electrical impulses in the brain, but not perhaps to the extent that we perhaps are told by law of attraction proponents and those kinds of things, because like if frequencies attracted things, then mixing engineers would be able to tune into all the frequencies and like it's like I've listened to like a 432 tone being played just isolated as a sine wave,
right.
So like when I listen to like align your vibration meditation, which of course I've listened to plenty, like all these align your vibration meditations, I feel like, okay, wait, mixing engineers' ears, I'm like, okay, I hear the frequencies, I'm still here, I'm still chilling,
right. Right.
So those are kind of my thoughts on the entire law of attraction thing. I think what it is, though, like the useful bit, it's not entirely criticisms. Like, I'm skeptical of the more pseudo-spiritual side, pseudoscientific spiritual side, but I definitely think there is something powerful in focusing on one's goals and in what one wants to create, because it activates our reticular activating system, right? The reticular activating system, if you're unfamiliar, is like kind of the thing that makes us aware of things. So, for example, in this, like when you I don't know, when you buy a new car, like let's say you buy a red Tesla, suddenly all of a sudden you start noticing, wait, what? Why are there so many more
So
red
many,
Teslas around the
right?
word? Why can I not speak English today? Along along the road. It's not necessarily that people started buying more Teslas. It's just that you became aware of them, right? Or for example, right now, around your room, find the color green,
Right.
right? You start to see green, or find the color red, right? The reticular activating system, I think that's what gets activated when we visualize and we
Mm-hmm.
act as if things have already happened, right?
Right.
And so that reticular activating system, because we're more exposed, not necessarily exposed, but because we see more of the opportunities and we see more of what we want to create, then we take action on that, and thus that's what we create. So I
Mm-hmm.
think focus and action are the useful parts of the law of attraction for me. What are your
Okay.
thoughts?
So I just want to clarify because
Mm-hmm.
it's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not saying you don't believe necessarily in it. You're saying you're skeptical of the part that's like energy and frequency related, right? Like that kind of thing, or the
Mm-hmm.
strength of it. And you're not saying it doesn't work where you put your energy or you thinking of this, like you're talking about. You think of the car, or you think of, I need whatever this, I don't know, job opportunity
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and then you start seeing those types of job opportunities. You're saying, yeah, more from a biological kind of like how your brain works way, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it does work, right?
Yeah. So I think what I'm saying, if I were to sum it up, I think I'm skeptical of the law of attraction when it says that one can attract something kind of just by visualizing and
Mm.
thinking about it and it will appear, right? I think action is required.
Mm.
Action is required to
Yeah,
bridge the
yeah,
gap.
yeah.
Like one can't visualize themselves into the richest person on earth. Um, and so I think what it comes down to is action and focus for
Mm.
me. So I'm skeptical kind of the energy bit and the like align yourself vibrationally with like align yourself to the frequency of what you want to attract. That kind of wording I'm a little skeptical of.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, that kind of wording
Okay, okay.
is what I'm
No,
skeptical of. And also like the power of like intention and our thoughts like attracting things to us. I think
right.
for me it's not necessarily I don't think our thoughts attract things to us. I think our thoughts condition our focus, and so what we focus on is what we go towards and what we take action on. That's
Right.
kind of the
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I would agree with you. I would agree with you. I think that also though I more than you, like kind of lean towards the actual um, energetic field and frequencies in that sense. I know I don't like fully rely on that. I'm not going to say lay on my bed and go, okay, I am going to get blah 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 today, and then it
Mhm.
happens. You know what I mean? Like, but I think I guess I would approach it like, or I do approach it kind of merging both of those with probably more of a focus on what you're talked about, which is like where are you focusing your your time and energy? How are you putting that into action? You know, so I'm not just again sitting here and like trying to do that, but I think that is I do think that is an aspect of it that is at least um, important to me and that I think does work. Like, and I would argue that part of the reason maybe you feel like it, and I don't know if this is true, but when I hear you say that, it makes me wonder if the part of the reason that you haven't like felt that works is that you're being so analytical and that if you almost like care a little less and you really just like lean into it, then it will actually have that effect on it. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm curious if like if you were to stop thinking so much about it and just kind of like somebody that wasn't to think about it so much and just kind of like went into it and was like, a true believer, will it work more? I don't know. It's interesting to think about. But
Mhm.
I do use it. I've never thought of it as like the law of attraction. Like people say it all the time, and there's like Instagram pages with like
Mhm.
affirmations and the law.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm with that, But
Mhm.
I think just I mean we've mentioned it before. I don't know if it's here or just the two of us, but I do like things that I want or that I can see like my life in the future, for example. When I say like long term kind of values and how I want to be happy and the people I want to have around me. All that kind of stuff I would like put into that category of kind of law of attraction, but I would never actually say that. Like, I'm not approaching it with the skills that you would maybe find in that book or whatever. Like, I'm just like constantly believing something to be true that isn't currently happening. Now, I don't know where that falls or what you think, but that's how I like approach this stuff. And I would say that it has something to do with that. I think that is at play, whether it is a energetic or spiritual thing or a mental thing. It works. I don't really care, to be honest. I just know that it does work. It brings me peace knowing that I can have the ability to kind of get whatever I want, not in like a selfish, like greedy way, but like you're able to do anything you want if you really like believe that it will happen. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like I'm not like really one way or another. I believe kind of in the whole frequency thing, and I mean that's a different. We can come back to that in a second because I have something to say about the whole frequency. I don't know, spectrum, but my EQ curve of life, and but that's kind of where I'm at. So I think I use it, but not in the way that maybe they would talk about in like a book like that, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally, I agree with you. Like, I think focusing on something, like focusing on what it is that you want to create, like visualizing is incredibly important to goal achievement. You know, I think if you know what it is and you're clear on what it is that you want to create, you know, and what you want to have around you, then of course, you know, your reticular activating system will be, you know, activated, and thus, you know, you'll be able to find those things around you and bring those people into your life. I do think like definitely I definitely wax a little bit more analytical.
Yeah.
Analytical in my head. And I think for me, kind of where my, I guess my own hesitation lies is more so in my own experience growing up in the church and everything. You
Right.
know, it feels kind of like a new age version of prayer. You know,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
prayer
Yeah.
useful? You know, like put your intention out, you know, put your intention out into the, you know, into the universe, or like at least affirm it to yourself, you know. But I think the entire like, you know, I need to believe something in order for it to be true, or I need to believe that something is true in order to attract it. I've kind of had issues with that myself because kind of um it, how do I say? I think it like on the flip side, okay, I can create whatever I want with enough belief, but then on the other side, you know, if I'm, you know, not thinking the right way, or if I don't have the right beliefs, then if I get sick or if my kid gets sick, right, was that because I wasn't thinking the
Right.
right things? You
Yes.
know, if like tragedies happen to people, like I was talking about this with Annie as well, you know, like let's say like a massive historical tragedy, you know, like think of whatever you want to think about. Did all those people perish or suffer because they weren't thinking in the right emotional vibration? Like did they attract that suffering onto them? You know, like that's the dark underbelly where I'm like, oh, you know, like
Right.
that's, you know, that doesn't sit right with me. That being said, though, I do think belief is incredibly important to goal actualization. You know, like believe in yourself and like you will act in a way that radiates, well, radiates the wrong word that I want to use, but you will act in a way that is in alignment with kind of confidence. You know,
Right.
when you're confident in your abilities to do something, will you do better at it? Yeah, most definitely. And so I think that's kind of what it comes down to on like a helpful practical level. I'm curious though what you have to say like about like frequencies, and you know, in our
Right.
experience as producers and mixing engineers, you know, how do you EQ? What's the EQ curve of your life looking like?
Isn't that great? That's so funny. I said that. I was like, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I just one sec before you get there though, because you said
Mhm.
you were talking about like specifically like religious people in the like using prayer to be like I didn't pray hard enough or like the right
Mhm.
things, then my child got sick. That's the example you used.
Mhm.
I think that that's not fully the law of attraction, because or that it doesn't work because it requires action, like you said. Like I think the issue there in my opinion is that it's can be a person who's fully putting their like um, I don't know. I guess you could say faith, but whatever, like in something else, whatever it
Mm,
is that they're believing in or praying to, and it's
mhm,
putting the onus off of them. And I think in
mm,
any situation,
mhm,
even spiritually, you still have to take responsibility for something. So like
mhm,
I'm not sitting here personally like praying to
mhm,
God, but sometimes I'll like I don't know, talk to the universe because I feel like there's something
mhm,
out there, I don't know. I want to
mhm,
just put it out there. But
mhm,
but I'm not like I'm not going to do anything in universe like get me 100% in this class this term, you know? Like make
mhm,
it happen. And it's like no, maybe if that could be an aspect to like support. I mean, I guess I look at it as like it's a support system to what you're doing
mm,
already. Is that right?
mhm,
I don't know, but that's what
mm,
I think is like maybe what you're kind of hinting at there, right? With the whole thing, or
mhm,
there's
totally
people
agree.
you can like take the action out, and it's like now I'm fully relying on something else, somebody else, whatever,
Mhm,
an energy source, and like, and then where's the personal like responsibility, right? You lose that. I think you
mhm,
need that personal responsibility. So you could fully be in the like energetic realm of like I am, attracting things, laying in my bed, great. But you have to do something, I think. Like I think there has to be a
mhm,
step because like um at least on the current, realm that we're in talking, that's
mhm,
not a thing that is happening where it's like it'll just happen without you doing anything. Now that might exist in some other dimension or I don't know, like whatever, but
mhm,
in this current state, I don't think it's possible. At least it hasn't been
mhm,
proven to be fully possible without action yourself. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Now,
Yeah, I totally
frequencies,
agree. Mhm,
what I was gonna say is that I people say, sometimes uh, you like move out of relationships. It's a common thing. People like make new friends and they change in life, whatever. But I feel like you genuinely resonate with people that are at a similar frequency than you, energetic, or
mm,
they have similar energy that they're putting out. You could liken that to interests or like whatever, those kinds of values, right? But I think there's a reason you and I get along so well and connect is because there is a frequency and energetic aspect to life. I fully believe this. If you don't, that is totally fine. That is supporting. We obviously have similar interests. We obviously have all these other things. You know what I mean? But on top of that, I think there's this frequency thing. And now, if at some point one of us kind of changes our frequency,
mhm,
or where we are in the energy field, we may start to have problems where our interests may still be the same, but we're having issues, and it could be that. I believe that. I fully believe that. I don't know where you stand on that
mhm,
topic, but I think that is like a very crucial thing. And I often look at things in the sense of energy. Now, people say energy; it's
mhm.
like a, you know, LA word,
So
but
yeah, San Fran. Yeah.
exactly. But
Mhm,
but I genuinely like. I know a lot of people be like, "Well, I really feed off your energy, and I feel it." I'm like, it's a thing people say. Um,
mhm,
I also say it, but like I genuinely feel like sometimes way more than others. It's not like I'm like an energy god or some weird thing, but
mhm,
every once in a while I'll be like, I can genuinely feel like there's something more than physical happening here, and I feel like I'm
mhm,
tapping into it. So
mhm,
it may be something else, but I feel it, and that's what causes me to believe that. So that's where
mhm.
I'm at, and I want to know what you think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. First of all, I totally agree with you on the personal responsibility bit. That is it. It's about putting the action back into the law of attraction, right?
Oh,
The
this
action bit is
guy.
the important bit. You know. Yeah. I completely agree with you. Personal responsibility ultimately it still does come down to you. Is visualization helpful? Yes, for sure. You will be more likely to achieve your goals. And or to create whatever it is that you want to create when you visualize it and you know what you want clearly and you take action towards it. Totally
Right.
agree with you.
Hmm.
Personal responsibility. As for the energetic realm, like for myself personally, I just don't know. Could it be? I wouldn't be against it. I'm totally open to it. I just don't really
Mm.
have too much of an opinion on it. I do think there is something more than just this physical, just this physical space, this physical realm.
Hmm.
Um, that being said, I don't know what it is, and I won't, pretend to have all the answers. Could it be something energy and frequency related? Sure, why not? I'd be completely open to that. But yeah, for me, I just don't know. For me, I don't know, and I think like the way that I approach it. Actually, no, I'm curious. Um, like with kind of like what you've learned so far about energy and frequency, how that like how do you like practically, like what do you do to maintain like your like to maintain your energy, to like take care of yourself in that kind of way? What are some of the practices on a practical level that
Mm.
you do?
So there's like the things that whenever you ask some sort of like question like this, I say meditation. I say blah blah.
Hmm.
There's that.
Hmm.
But those are like actions that you can do even if you don't believe in this stuff. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like you can. A lot of it is like I and maybe I don't know if anybody else does this. This is what I do, and it works for me. It doesn't mean it's right. But like I'm very visual about things often. So like I close my eyes and I'm like
Hmm.
seeing things when I'm imagining whatever, right? So I can't. I don't have a sense. Neither of us, as humans, have a sense to like actually experience this energetic field, right? Like there's something out there, but we just don't have the sense to see it or whatever, right? So I like to visualize it as something. And so like my room here, I've recently started redoing my room. YouTube video coming soon. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I did a thing with my my aunt who's a hypnotherapist, and I was feeling like my room needed a change up. I find it's really important. I think a lot of people would agree that your environment, where you're like your home environment, is really impacts how you feel. It could be many different things. On the energetic side of things, we did this hypnotherapy session, and she got me to visualize kind of my room in an energetic field, like kind of state. And I was like, the corners are black. That's what I told her instantly. I don't know why. I just said it. And I was like, this is it. Like the corners, everything in the middle is kind of okay, but it feels like the corners are dirty. And she's like, okay, it's like the outside world is kind of seeping into your space. So let's get rid of that. And we did this thing. I did it visually because again, I'm very visual. And I like
Hmm.
visually in my mind, however I see it, right? It's like mist or whatever. I got rid of this like kind of dark energy or maybe spots of like corners of my room where like there was maybe a lack of like positive energy that I felt. And I got rid of it. And like it wasn't fully gone in my mind before we left. But over the course of the week, I did more of it, more of it. And then I started to feel better. And I started to feel like my room was in more of this kind of this space that I wanted it to be energetically. And when I walk from out in the hallway into my room, I feel personally a shift in that. I could be having a bad day. Something could be going on that's really bad out there between friends or whatever. It doesn't happen often, but if that's the case, and I come in here and I will feel different because personally there's a difference between the energy out there and in here. So that's one little thing recently that I've done, and then since that's happened, that was kind of a big like thing for me. I was like, whoa, this actually really impacted me. Again, I don't really, because I know your mind is going, well, like what is happening there? How is that actually working? I'm like, I don't really care, to be honest. I just know it helped, so I'm gonna do it
Hmm.
that way again, and if it works, great.
Hmm. Totally.
And I kind of treat situations like that. I treat people like that. If I feel like, this person is really, and it can shift day to day, you go to whatever, work or school, and you see somebody and they're having a bad day, you can feel that, right? And if I'm feeling that, like I just treat myself as though I have this kind of bubble around me, which is taking the space I just talked about in my room, but it's on me at all times. So if you and I get together and you're having a bad day and I can feel that you've kind of got this negative energy and bad energy and we're not really resonating together, look at me using these words. Oh my God, I sound crazy. Um, you know, I find that if I really, now obviously it's easy to like feed into that, really easy to feed into that. But if I'm trying to be conscious of it, I'm like, your current energetic state isn't going to affect me because I have this kind of bubble that's always around me that has this energetic field that I feel safe and comfortable in, and it feels like good for me. And that's how I've been trying to treat situations, people, objects, even objects, like people are gonna think I'm so crazy right now if they're not into this because I sound crazy. But like I recently tried to get a new coffee machine. Okay, I went out. I'm into espresso. Everybody, I love it. It's crazy. It's a ridiculous world. It's
Makes
amazing.
great art.
And
Great
I
art.
enjoy my latte art. So I had this little machine,
Mhm.
and I was like, it's time for an upgrade. I'm gonna go get another one. So I went to Facebook Marketplace. I went out, whatever, half an hour, drove and picked it up, and I got there, and I wasn't feeling right. Something didn't feel right. We talked about gut instinct the other day, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, this didn't feel right, but I was like, it's okay. I really wanted the machine, so I got it, and I was like, fine. Got home, it didn't work. Right? It didn't work. The machine was faulty, and it was a used thing. The guy was super nice. It was great. So I really lucked out. So I told him, I was like, by the way, this is what happened. Doesn't work. I tried everything. Great. Took it back. He and he refunded me. It was fine. It all worked out. But I came home and I was like, I'm trying to get a new machine. This one didn't feel right. I was like, I really like this machine. It's not really doing everything I want. There's a reason I'm talking about all this, by the way. It's not really doing maybe what I want coffee wise, but I feel some sort of like energetic connection to this machine. If I were to go get another one right now, I feel like there's a difference between that, and I need to fully develop this relationship with this inanimate object, as crazy as it sounds, and then feel like I can move on to the next thing. So since then, I've just really leaned into this, and I'm like, you know what, this is like my machine. I'm gonna treat it well, and I'm gonna associate this positive energy with the actual object, and things have been great. I'm like, you know what, I don't actually need a machine right now, and when I eventually do, I'll make sure that I have that kind of like quote unquote connection with it. And
Mhm.
as crazy as that sounds, it dramatically impacts my life. So I don't know what is actually going on in my brain, but that's what I'm thinking, and that's how I'm operating, and that's what's going on. Now, I bet you had no idea about that, Amir, and I want to know what you think.
Uh, yeah, no, totally. I think I okay. I think intuition is incredibly important. I think you're onto something. I think there's
Mm-hmm.
that gut connection to something. Whether something is not sitting quite right, and then you go home
Mm-hmm.
and then you figure it out. I feel like we both definitely have that. We have that intuitive side for sure. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
on the Myers-Briggs type indicator, which is not 100% scientific, but it is helpful. It is a helpful tool. I think we both are definitely very ENFJ and being intuitive, so we can like I don't know, like we're empathetic, or like we can like feel whether things sit right. And I think it's more so like, a gut kind of knowing. I don't know, like the subconscious mind like knows things,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Knows things, and
Yes.
it's felt in the body. It's a bodily knowing, not an analytical knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's definitely, important to get in touch with kind of the deepest part of ourselves, right? To get in touch with our body and just being conscious and being present with that. I think that's incredibly useful. And whatever heuristic helps you get to that place, whether it's thinking about it from an energetic point of view, or whether thinking about it from a, I don't know, gut brain link, whatever, whatever paradigm you use, I think it leads to the same place. If it helps you live a good life and doesn't hurt anyone, then great, keep doing it.
Right. Exactly.
Like I think that's what it comes down to with, I think, everything that we've been talking about.
What do you think about what I said? At least the technique, I guess you could call it, about
Mm.
like my room. What do you think about that?
Mm. Hmm. I think visualization is incredibly helpful because I think it it helps our brain kind of organize itself, because the human brain, what I've learned so far, the human brain is evolved to have really good memory in two places. One is visual, two is spatial. For very obvious reasons, we need to remember kind of where the source of water is. We need to remember what the berry that is poisonous looks like. We need to remember what a predator looks like, right? We need
Right.
to remember where home is. So visual and spatial. That's how our brain has kind of evolved to process things in the most efficient way. And so when we kind of go into our own internal space, right? Because, when we go into our own psyche and we kind of apply these visual and spatial kind of paradigms to it, or visualizations, it kind of helps us clear yeah, it kind of helps us clear whatever subconscious clutter is in our mind. That reminds me of a technique that I use to help me get to sleep. If I'm like really overthinking a lot that night, I will visualize in my head that there are two people talking outside of a window, and they're talking really loudly, and I will walk up to the window and I will close the window. Right, so I will close two doors on the side of the window, and I'll close it, and I can't hear them anymore, and then the overthinking subsides, and then I go to sleep. Right, or
Right.
another thing that I use is, for example, if it's like, I don't know, too bright or too loud in my head, I will imagine a mixing board and I will turn the volume down, like in my
Mm,
head. Right, and I think that's it's just like the visual and the spatial is actually your brain, like, I'm actually turning down the volume of my thoughts in my brain, but I'm just using a visualization to do it. Right,
right.
or like I'm actually clearing the subconscious clutter from my mind, but I'm just using a visualization to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you are doing the underlying action, it's just
Right.
that this is the visualization that comes alongside of that. you know so I think it's definitely very helpful. And I think it's very cool how the brain does that, and how, like, kind of whatever paradigm you use, as long as it works for you, um like whatever helps you get the result that you're looking for, then keep on doing it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. you
Exactly.
know
And I
Mhm.
think that that's where like things like this can it can be hard for people to even like start or just like continue with things because everybody's like you need to do it this way and this it's just
Mm.
it's kind of like almost human nature to be like it works for me so it has to work for everybody else and it's like
Mhm.
probably doesn't work for like a large majority of people like everybody's
Mhm.
different so
Mhm.
I think that's what is important and what we're obviously like covering here today is
Mhm.
you and I talking about similar things but approaching them very differently
Mhm.
and maybe getting the same result but not taking the same path, which is like
Mhm.
just
So cool.
important to like remember that if you learn one way or if just you act one way and it's easier to get things and like everybody else around you doesn't do it that way, it doesn't matter. Like if you're able to get the result or do the thing that you want or whatever, then like continue doing it the way you're doing. Like you said, like
Mhm.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, and that reminds me, and I've been thinking about this a lot this week. The most important advice that I've ever gotten. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in a past episode, you know, but the most important advice that I've ever received. Want to know what it is?
What?
It's to stop taking advice.
Yeah, you did mention this, and it's awesome.
Yeah, right. Knowing when to stop taking advice. So, if you haven't listened to the past episodes, which you definitely should, dear listeners and viewers, basically, knowing when to stop taking advice is incredibly important because, as we've discussed in life, it's at the end of the day, you're forging your own path, and no one knows your circumstance and your situation better than you do.
Mhm.
Right, and what works for one person might not work for them again. If you were to
Right.
take, like, I don't know, someone who's really successful in whatever area, whether that's relationships, finance, or business, or whatever, someone who's really successful, and you have them do the same thing that they did like 20 years ago, and you have them do it again today and follow all their own advice, they probably wouldn't be successful. Right, so it's
Yeah.
dependent on the time, it's context, it's there is no rule book, or as Kapil Gupta says, there is no prescription for life. Right, if you're looking for prescriptions, then ultimately you're going to, like, be attached to kind of the prescription or the methodology instead of the actual thing that it points you towards. you
Mhm.
know yeah, so I think that's incredibly important, figuring it out, and you know living your own life and doing it on your own terms, which is a very interesting segue to kind of what we've been both going through,
Mm.
like life wise. Just for the viewers out there, like, I'm on the precipice of a huge decision. Like, I might be moving to the East Coast and might be doing completely different things than I am now, and sort of I'm trying to, like, I'm trying to stay grounded and remember that, I don't got to take advice for everything, that I just got to figure it out and do it for myself. And I know
Right.
that, Harrison, you also have
Mhm.
your own big, I guess identity. Like, you're figuring out your identity and kind of, like, what you want to do
Mm.
vision wise, moving forward,
Yeah.
and all those things. And I think tying it all together, I think we're all learning to live for the first time, as you often say.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think it's always a good reminder when I hear people like share ways that they do things, and it's like not the same. Now it can be hard though when like you're trying to learn how to do something, or you're trying to like, especially with life, like you talk to people, like you said, like maybe you're getting advice from like a business mentor or even just like your parent, and they may share something that they did, and like it maybe just can't happen now. Like buying a house, for example, is very
Yeah.
challenging because of the
What's that?
price of things.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like that's where it gets, I guess, challenging and maybe frustrating like a little bit, where everybody does do things differently and does learn differently. So it can be hard to get advice or like kind of referral on how to do something, if you really genuinely need it or like want it as like a form of just support to figure out what you're doing. And then everybody does it different, and then it's like, well, I don't know what works for me. And I guess to that I would say like I've just through that, I've been there, I continue to be there, and like you just got to pick something and try it, and if it doesn't work, then that was the wrong thing. Pick another one, and like it will be fine and get sorted out. But I think that's just an important reminder to everybody, regardless of your age, because you can get so, well, like we talked about the door thing, you can get so caught up in like trying to decide what door to go through and down along, and just you need to just start opening them to figure out where to go, right? Instead of planning forever. So I think that's really what it comes down to, is like just trying stuff. And like in this specific context, like methods, try different ways of doing things, and that's how you'll find what works. Like, I mean, even a perfect example is this podcast. Like we were just talking earlier, and it's like, well, this is what now, episode 8. So by the time this is out, hopefully, this method works. But, it's like, I don't know. I've never run a podcast before. I don't know exactly the strategy to do it. I've talked to and heard from a lot of people that have successful podcasts. I know what they did, but they're not in my shoes, So I could do everything, and I've tried to implement things that they've done, and I have no success. And they're like, this is what really helped me. I'm like, I don't. So I just will continue to try things, and then eventually it will work, and I'll go, this is what works for me. It's a combination of a bunch of things, and the only way to do that is to try a bunch of different methods. So I feel like that's kind of like the takeaway for me, at least from what we're talking about here.
Yeah, totally agree. I think the interesting thing you'll find, talking about the doors thing that we brought up, before, oftentimes you'll find that the doors will lead you to the same place.
Right.
Different paradigms, different ways of thinking about things. I was thinking about this actually. Annie and I were going for a hike, like I think yesterday. Yeah, we were going for a hike yesterday or the day before, I forget. And it was, so beautiful. We were hiking in Pacific Spirit Park over here in Vancouver. If you know it, so nice. I can't believe we have this, honestly, in the city. It's beautiful. And, we were just sitting on a park bench, like for, I don't know, 15, 30 minutes, just, meditating, just complete, silence and just being still with nature. And kind of a realization came to me as we reached a crossroads in the trail. And I kind of like thought about it, but then it made me think about, my own life. At the end of the day, barring crazy huge exceptions, because, you can't plan for those. But, at the end of the day, no matter which path you choose on the trail, you are still going to be wherever you are. Right? Wherever you go, there you are. Right? And so if you can't find happiness or peace of mind where you're currently standing, or satisfaction where you currently are standing, then if you go further down the trail, you're just going to be more tired. And it's going to be harder to find that. And so I think what it was a helpful reminder to me of was that, the quality of the present moment, the quality of your present moment experience determines the quality of your future experiences, right? And also just knowing that at the end of the day, no matter what path you choose to go down, you will be okay if you can be okay in the present,
It's a really good analogy.
Yeah, like we kind of reached the crossroads, and I was like, "Oh, let me get all philosophical." I was like, "Wait, okay, wait. I need to think. Let me be dramatic." And then I had to like, "Yo, can you take a video of me?" And I was just like standing at the middle of the crossroads, like, left,
oh my
right.
gosh, I love it.
Most
people go to a coffee shop and they just get a coffee, and Ameer goes and he has like a philosophical, like he analyzes the menu, and he's like, "This is why they have this here, and this is why I'm gonna."
Oh yeah, it's my analytical ass. I think definitely over the last year, what I found is that okay, if I were to sum it up for myself, and I'm curious, like what it's like for yourself. Like I feel like I have analytical brain, but then I also have like kind of just feeling and intuition and all those
Yeah.
things. And I
Hmm.
feel like last year, so 2021, was kind of the year of getting in touch with kind of my feelings and my intuition, like doing therapy, doing the healing work and all the journaling and all those kinds of things, right? I feel like that was definitely the year of feeling and, you know, intuition. And I'm not saying like it's a black and white thing. It's a
Yeah.
spectrum, as with everything. I feel like that was 2021. I feel like 2022 has more so been the year of me being like really analytical and a little bit more, I guess, T thinking, like less feeling, but more so like T analysis, thinking, chart, spreadsheet kind of thing, and like kind of getting my emotions kind of in check, because like, oh hey, I healed the stuff, okay, now how can I manage my emotions and my
Right.
psychology and direct it in a logical way? So I feel like that's been 2022 for me. I wonder, what has that been like for you? Like, have you ever had like a really
Mm.
analytical phase? Have you ever had like a super intuitive, what does that look like for you?
Most of my life has been analytical, very,
Really?
and I would actually say that I'm less shifting away from it. I'm actually losing it intentionally. Parts of it.
Mm.
Like it's not like so I right now I would feel the opposite of you. I feel like this year, school year, I mean 2022 and kind of the fall, but specifically since the beginning, I guess this year 2022, that I've gone more into that kind of feeling
Mm.
focus maybe, like all that stuff we just talked about, like you know, a year ago Harrison would have said that you're crazy. I mean, I still think sometimes I am, um but I'm like happy with those things and it works for me. Um and I think that like I said, I actually feel like I've gone more that way, but it's not like that the scales have shifted, but the scales shifted, but also I'm like intentionally kind of pushing down some of that analytical mind because I'm so like at least I would say I don't know if it's instinctually, at least I grew up that way and thinking that way, and I just really fed into it, and I was so focused on the numbers and the blah blah blah, like the analytics of life for
Mhm.
so long. And I think it caused me a lot of problems. And I've realized that there's a lot of ways or like situations where I really need to like not just try to focus more on my emotion, like literally just get rid of it because it's not necessary and it works better if I focus on the emotional side of things. So I think maybe in the grand scheme of things, that's like balancing it out more because I spent so long being so analytical. Um, and that's changing. But I think it's like I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and maybe we should talk about change next week because that'd be cool.
Yeah, I love
To
that.
just to fully get into it, but I I feel like everybody I think has felt like they changed, especially since the start of the pandemic, right? Everybody feels
Mhm.
because our circumstances changed. So of course you feel like you changed too. But personally, I feel like it's been super strong, especially in the last couple months. Like I feel almost like a different person sometimes. Like in the way I think and the emotions I'm feeling and almost like values and like everything feels like it's changing. And and I think that again, I think we should talk about this. But for now, if anybody else is feeling that way, I want to encourage you to like lean into it. Don't shy away from it because it can be scary because it's like I've thought and I'm like I've seen pictures of myself. Pictures an easy way to, identify like a moment in time. I'm like,
Mhm.
even just a year ago or a couple came up, they were like, the beginning of my time here at the school, which was like, it was 3 years ago, I think. And I was like, that is a different person. That's a different person. And I got a little sad because I was like, did I lose aspects of that personality or person that I was then? Obviously, it's still me, but did I lose aspects of that I should have kept? Would I have been better off with them? You know, is this bad that I feel like it's so different than how I feel now? And I think, like you just said, where you need to like wherever you are. But what's the quote? The specific quote? Where?
Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah. So I'm here right now. I'm not that person, and that's fine. Like I think that I will continue to change, and I hope I do change because the person I am now is knows so much more than I did then, and it doesn't matter how different we are, as long as in general I feel like I'm getting better at life, I'm increasing my happiness and just overall well-being, then it doesn't really matter, right? So all that to say, if you're listening and you feel similarly, like you almost don't even know who you were and you feel like a different person, lean into it and be okay with it, and just know that you are not alone, and that like I'm with you on this journey, and I think it's actually an exciting thing if you look at it that way. If you look at it being another, like it could be a depressing thing, but I don't think it needs to be. I think it should be an exciting thing, because it means, you watch TV shows and everybody loves when a new season of the TV show comes out. When that season of that, when season 4, the rest of season 4 of Ozark comes out in a couple days, which I cannot wait for. Oh my gosh. When that comes out, it's going to be different than season 1 of that show. The characters are different. The plot line's a little different. So I'm in whatever, season 22 of my life, and it's different than season 19, and that's how it should be. So something to think about. We kind of got off topic, but I wanted to share
that's going to be such a good topic for next week. I have so many thoughts about that, and I'm intentionally holding myself back because I could release the floodgates right now. But we'll save that for next week.
This is good. Look at that. You got something to look forward to. A little teaser. We're going to talk about change, and it's going to be good. We'll see you in a week, everybody. If you enjoyed this episode and want to support the show, make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Visit us on Instagram and TikTok at Let's Talk About Life Pod. And for more information, head on over to harrisonkingofficial.com/podcast. Now it's time for you to get out there and have a deep, meaningful conversation in your own life.